Happy Tuesday! Sorry about the delay. Welcome to Much Ado About Gaming. I'm your host, Jessa Blackthorne, and I hope you've been having a fantastic week so far. Thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with me for what I think is the best part of any Tuesday. Today, we have a fun show. We're going to be looking at all the board games that WizKids has released so far in 2021. So I'll kind of give you a little rundown of each of the games with all the details, and that way, if you missed any, this show will make sure you're completely filled in. So it's a great way to know, what games we've released and what games you might be interested in that you didn't know you were interested in, but you're going to be interested in them because they're all great. They're all fantastic, and I am so excited to talk about all of them. I'm also going to be just touching a little bit briefly on the upcoming games that we've announced as well. So I won't be going into details about those, but I will kind of touch upon them so you can see what we have coming on the slate. Of course, there are also more games that have not been announced yet, maybe. Who knows, but you're definitely going to want to not miss that part. Just so you can see what's coming, what you can expect at your FLGS, hitting shelves. It's going to be great. We're going to have a fun show. The show is being streamed live, of course, as we do every week, so if you have any questions about any of the games you hear me talking about, please feel free to type question in all caps in the chat, followed by your question, that's so I see it, and I'll do my best to answer them for you. As a reminder, this is a board game show, and I'm unfortunately unable to answer any questions about our other product lines, but the best way to know news about our other product lines is to keep an eye on our social media, because that's the best place to keep up to date with any announcements we might make. We always post our announcements on our social media, so if you're wondering, when is this going to be announced, when is this release date coming, the best way to find out about that is going to be to look at our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter. We are WizKids on Facebook, WizKids Games on Twitter and Instagram. I am having trouble talking today. I don't know why. But without further ado, let's dive in. So, the very first game, you didn't hear me yet. So, the very first game that WizKids released in 2021 was Star Trek Alliance Dominion War Campaign. It's an exciting starship battle game set in the Star Trek universe. So the way you play this game is that one or more players actually get to create their own Federation captains. So you're not playing an existing Federation captain, you actually get to make your own. You form a task force and you work together to defeat the Dominion over a series of campaign missions. I have read every mission in this game, and it seems so cool. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. With everything going on in the world with COVID, we haven't really had a ton of game nights, so I haven't had a lot of opportunities, but this one is on the slate. I really want to play it, so I'm really hoping I'll be able to play it soon, and I'm really excited for when that opportunity is going to come. The box for the game contains everything that one or two players need to play the full campaign, and it includes, as you can kind of see in the photos next to me, it includes pre-painted plastic ships, custom dice, cards, tokens, and a 6-mission campaign book. So actually, and with multiple copies of the game, up to 6 players can fight the Dominion together. So it's expandable in that way, so that, if you want to play it with 1 or 2 players, you can. There's, 1 copy will do that. If you want to get a group together, play it with 6 people, that is also an option too, and I think that's really cool. So during each mission, what happens is that players battle against enemy ships controlled by the game, and you're also completing objectives to earn experience points. Between missions, you spend then those experience points that you earned to upgrade your ships and advance the overall campaign. So it really is telling a full story, and it's really cool because a lot of the missions that you'll see are adjacent to events that happened that you'll recognize in the Star Trek universe. In particular, a lot of the missions you'll see are kind of things that they talk about having happened in Deep Space Nine. So if that's your favorite Star Trek show, you are gonna love this game. it's really cool the way they kind of integrated things from the show into this game. It doesn't feel like you're playing the show, but like you'll hear the name of a campaign and you're like, hey, I've heard that mentioned before. Oh yeah, they mentioned that in that episode of Deep Space Nine, and it's really fun the way they did this, and the way they wrote it together was just amazing. But the game itself, like I said, is $49.99, which you can also see on the screen right above my head. And depending on whether you play just one mission or a whole campaign, the game can run 30 minutes or possibly longer. This is, like I said, just to remind you of the name, you know, in case you're listening to the show as opposed to visually watching it. This is Star Trek Alliance Dominion War Campaign, and it is available at your friendly local game store or online right now. So definitely pick that up. So next up we have, and if you've ever watched this show, you'll know exactly what game I'm about to talk about, because it is one of my favorites that we have ever released. I love it to death, and it is, of course, Waddle! Waddle is an adorable strategy game where players are herding a shared group of penguins as they explore their neighborhood. But you score based on how carefully your chosen cards match with where you've managed to get the penguins to wind up. So you're moving the penguins around on the discs, which you can kind of see next to me, and you're trying to get them in certain places in certain combinations, and that is what is going to allow you to score points in this game. Each turn you select a scorecard with a goal, like locations with an even number of penguins, or maybe you want locations that have more red than yellow penguins, or vice versa. Maybe you want locations with a maximum of 5 penguins, or something else maybe. But you pick one of those cards, and then you place penguins from your own supply, or you get to pick up penguins from a single location to move elsewhere to a different location, and you score a number of points based on how many locations match your scorecard. So you're trying to match it to the pattern on the scorecard. But you have to be careful, because as you're moving the penguins around, you might be moving them exactly where your opponents want them. So you have to really think strategically about what you're trying to score with versus what your opponents might be wanting to score with. And all the players have the same deck of scorecards, so sometimes you can kind of use a process of elimination to figure out what your opponent might be trying to score, and that helps as well. But the art in this game, the art in this game is absolutely adorable, and it's just so much fun to play. This is one of the only games I've really had an opportunity to have a game night with because of COVID in the last few months, and I love it so much. It's so fun. It's not challenging to learn, but the strategy is there, and it's just a lot of fun. It plays 2 to 4 players in about 30 minutes, and the game is $29.99, so it's a great price point, and honestly, I almost want to get another copy of the game just to frame the art, not because it's, I think the art is beautiful. It is not only adorable, it is beautiful, and I love it so much. I would put it in a museum, and there are penguins in a museum in this game. So, the penguins can be in the museum, then I can put the picture of the penguins in the museum in a museum. That's what I think. Because Waddle is just great. I love this game. But I might have said this already, so I'm going to say it again. I'm sorry if I already just said it. I got too excited. Every time I talk about this game, I get too excited about how cute the game is. Team Frezak, I don't know the answer to that question, unfortunately. I don't have confirmation either way on whether WizKids is going to be going to any conventions, but keep an eye on our social media. That is the best place to find out whether we're going to any conventions. But thank you for asking. But Waddle, like I said, I think I already said this, plays 2 to 4 in about 30 minutes. It's $29.99, and I cannot recommend it enough. If that was not clear from my freaking out, the game is fantastic. If you have not picked it up from your friendly local game store or online, you're seriously missing out. Pick it up. Waddle. Just great. Really love it so much. I'm going to stop talking about it now because I will just go on for the next 45 minutes. about this game if I don't stop myself. So, next is Cedars from Cedars Exodus. I still don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I think I am, because I feel like if I say series, that kind of sounds like you're spelling it wrong, but it's Cedars. If you know how to pronounce it, please tell me in the comments. I would love to know. But this is actually an English translation of a hit French sci-fi game, and the lore on this one is so fascinating. So, in the far distant future, colonists from a dead Earth called Cedars are threatened by a world-eating force. You must design a new, better arc for the Cedars to escape to their new homes. So you want to draft cards to lay out the foundation for your arc. You negotiate to gain the best modules and personnel. You take advantage of complex interactions and create the colony ship that will save the Cedars from extinction. And that's kind of the surface level of the lore. There is so much depth in this game. I could get into it, but it would take a very long time to talk about. Basically, what you are specifically is you are the representatives of the different castes in the Cedars society who have to design a daughter arc so that they can evacuate the colonies threatened by this phenomenon, which is called the Black Force. So each player has negotiators whose influence it will be used to buy plans of unit modules to be built and to recruit crews to operate them. So you're negotiating and you're integrating these modules, these crews. You're trying to build the best possible ship. And after 4 full turns of these negotiations and integrations, the Order, which is kind of like the leadership of the society, will choose the most promising arc for immediate production. So in other words, the way that works is that each arc, you kind of score your arc based on the different things that you've integrated into it, and the player with the highest score wins the game. This is another one I haven't had a chance to get to the table yet. Like I said last week, we just got our new board game table in, and it's finally spacious enough to be able to play larger games like this that have more table space, so I'm excited about that. And, maybe to be able to have friends over and be able to play this game, because this one is super fascinating. The art in this one, as you can see next to me right now, is also really gorgeous, and I can't wait to try this one out. But it's absolutely gorgeous. Like I just said, it plays 2 to 4 players in about 2 hours, so it's a nice, good, game night. This is what we're going to play at game night, and then you can play something shorter alongside that. So it's a nice, good length. It's $74.99, so, and it has a ton of components, so this actually is a really good price point for the amount of components you get. I counted, I think, when I did the unboxing of this, how many components were in it. I don't remember the exact number right now, but it's a lot. So it's definitely worth the price. And you can pick it up at your friendly local game store or online right now. It's available, so pick it up. It's great. It's awesome. That's Cedars from Cedars Exodus. Next up, we have another one that I really liked, and this one I liked it a lot more than I expected it to, and that is Jinja. So the reason I say that is because I'm very much, when I came into board games, I was very much a party game person. I like social games. Social deduction games are the thing I love the most. So for me, games that are very mechanic focused and more technical didn't necessarily appeal to me as much when I was starting out with board games. And so sometimes I tend to maybe be more dismissive of games with those mechanics. And I shouldn't be. I'm working on it. We have lots of board games at home. I'm going to try them all, and I'm going to find what I love. But Jinja is one that, when I got it to the table and actually started playing it, I absolutely fell in love with it. It's a colorful worker placement game about building shrines across Japan. So what you have to do is you place workers at key locations around Japan to activate one of 13 different actions, which are on the board, so you can see what actions you have that you have as options to take at all times, or build at one of 7 different territories. So to earn the highest amount of honor, which is kind of your points, you have to plan your strategy, time your construction, and you have to be a little bit lucky because you have to make sure your opponents aren't building in the places or doing the actions that you want to take, which is something that happened a lot when I've played Jinja, where, you know, I'll get really into it and then get really frustrated when someone ruins my plans. But that's always a fun moment with board games. The game features evocative illustrations and high-quality components. I mean, these illustrations are just beautiful. They're absolutely stunning. Fantastic, really. And actually, the game includes custom plastic miniatures that represent the shrines, screen-printed score trackers, and a custom multicolor mask die. And if you're a dice person, I know a lot of people who are dice people. I'm almost a dice person. I collect a lot of dice. But I know that if you're a dice person, custom dice are always really exciting, and these custom dice are fantastic. The game board, also, I should mention, is an illustrated map of Japan divided into territories with a limited number of temple sites. So that's kind of how you determine where you can build. And then over 5 seasons, which is sort of like rounds, it's you play through your components for each round and then you reset, basically. But over 5 seasons, players will place workers on one of 13 actions or 7 territories as they work towards their different goals. So each player kind of has their own unique goals as they're playing, which I feel like makes it a little more different than a lot of other worker placement games. Building a shrine earns you also honor and special abilities that you can use at other times. Jinja also adds replayability with variable goals and events in the game. So there are omikuji, which are fortunes, and they are secret goals that score you bonus points if your shrines are on certain locations. So it could be one location, it could be a combination of locations, it could be a combination of territories. When I play the game, that's kind of how I strategize. I shouldn't be saying this because I hope if you play this game with me, stop watching now. I generally try to really go for the omikuji because they will give you additional points, and that can be really helpful at the end of the game, and it's a great strategy to play with. There are also kitsune cards, which are randomly chosen for each game, and they provide different discounts, maybe, or bonuses, and abilities that change with the season. So when I say discounts, I mean on acquiring certain... What's the word? Oh, God. The word just fell out of my head. Discounts on resources. That's the word I was looking for. So they give you discounts on resources or possibly on what's required to build a shrine. Bonuses and abilities, like I said, that change with the seasons. So throughout the game, you also can exchange deed cards, which are basically cards that allow you to build shrines for territory, or you can also leave things up to luck by rolling the mask die for bonuses and then revisit your territories later to build up your resource supply. So there's a lot of different mechanics going on in this game, and I'm realizing that all of my hand talking you can't see any of because it's right below the camera, but, you know, I'm talking with my hands. So there's a lot of different mechanics and a lot of different ways you can earn points and a lot of different ways you can be successful in this game, which I think is great, especially if your play group has a lot of strategists who play in different ways as they're gaming. There's a bunch of different ways that you can successfully earn the points that you need to win the game, and I just find it is a lot of fun. It's 2 to 5 players. It plays in 60 minutes, so it's a nice good time. And the game is $49.99, which it's a game with custom plastic, beautifully screen-printed board, and custom dice, and that price point I think is killer for that. So this, once again, is Jinja, and I really enjoy Jinja. It's really beautiful. I mean, look at these cards. The art is just breathtaking. It's so nice. These are the Kitsune cards that I was just talking about. So they do different things during the game. But that is Jinja. And then next up we have... One second. Leonardo, I agree. The art in Jinja is absolutely stunning. I can't get over it. So next up, we have Fantasy Realms: The Cursed Horde. Now, if you're familiar with Fantasy Realms, it is one of our most popular games. It's actually the game that kind of got me introduced to WizKids in the first place. My friend and I played Fantasy Realms at Gen Con a few years back, and I went and bought it, and I think that was the first WizKids game I ever bought, and it's a great game. So it's an acclaimed game from designer Bruce Glasgow that takes literally seconds to learn. It's so easy to learn. You draw one card from the deck or discard area, and then you try to build the strongest hand by creating the best combinations of cards. So the cards will affect each other in different ways, and there are multiple different suits in the game, and those suits kind of can impact each other and create different effects that could make your hand worth more points, worth less points. It's really about kind of finding the synergy between your cards, and that's Fantasy Realms. And so Fantasy Realms, The Cursed Horde, is an expansion for Fantasy Realms. So you do need the Fantasy Realms base game to play it, which it is available all over the place, so you can definitely get your hands on both. We actually just redid the packaging about a year ago, so if you've kind of seen Fantasy Realms on the shelf in the past, it might look a little bit different to you now. The art on the packaging is new, but it's still the same Fantasy Realms. It's still just as great as it was before, so just so you are aware of that. But the Cursed Horde expands on the original game, and it adds 2 new modular expansions that can be added either together or separately. So there's 2 expansions. The first expansion that it adds is Cursed Items, and Cursed Items actually adds a whole new deck of cards. So players each will take 1 item that they can use whenever they want to create a powerful effect. Like maybe you're taking double turns, hiding discarded cards, or you could even skip your discard phase to keep an extra card. But whenever you use a cursed item, it turns into negative points at the end of the game. So it's really about risk and reward and whether or not you want to take the hit in points knowing you get this great effect, and whether you think that's going to be worth the points you might lose later on. The more powerful the effect, of course, the more points you're going to lose at the end of the game. And then there's also the other modular expansion is New Suits, which adds 3 new suits to the game. You can add buildings, which will allow you to develop your realm even further. There are outsiders, which are powerful mythical individuals that can have really strong effects on different things in your hand. And there are the undead, which are kind of rising from the dead to affect the other cards in your hand really powerfully. But they're all great new suits. Sorry. They're all great new suits. They're fantastic. And this expansion really adds to the Fantasy Realms experience. I really enjoy it. It plays 3 to 6 players, which is what the base game plays. So Fantasy Realms plays 3 to 6 players. The Cursed Horde, as an expansion, kind of doesn't really have its own player count. It's still 3 to 6 players. And the game plays in about 20 minutes too, so it's a nice quick game. Definitely something that you can kind of bring with you. You're hanging out, at a restaurant, at a cafe. I don't know if we're doing that yet again. But when that happens, Fantasy Realms is a great option for that. And then there is I should have mentioned this, there is a new online scoring app. It's a web app that you can use I should have added this and I did not, to score the game, and it includes the cursed items. So if you go to WizKids.io/FRAPP, app, so Fantasy Realms initials app, you'll get a free online web app. It works on mobile. It works in your browser. You can use that to score the game, which of course makes scoring Fantasy Realms so much easier, because if you're like me and you kind of struggle with math a little bit, it can be really daunting to try and work out in your head all of the different effects and the way they interact. So the app really makes it great and easy to solve those problems. And the expansion is $14.99. So it's perfect expansion for your Fantasy Realms experience. The base game, the price on the base game is, 1 second. I was hoping it would load faster because I didn't write it down. I think it's $19.99, but I don't want to... It is $19.99. So the base game is $19.99, and the expansion is $14.99, and both are great, and definitely get them and play them, because Fantasy Realms is a lot of fun. Next up, we have... Hold on one second here. Oh, gosh. Sorry. I'm doing things a little bit differently on the back end here and still trying to figure stuff out. Next up is Summertime. This is one of our most recent releases, and this is a really fun game based on the classic song by DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. So you are invited to hang out with DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince at the hottest spots in Philly, and you're trying to earn a spot in their crew. So you get to cruise, groove, and unwind across town and try to vibe with them to prove that you're the coolest person so that they can add you to their crew. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to collect different spots as you're playing the game, and you'll go to different areas, and all the players at once are going to simultaneously select action and energy cards, and they're trying to have the most energy, and the player who has the most energy wins the spot. But the game uses a rock, paper, scissors mechanic, so everyone is going to simultaneously pick the cards that they're going to play, and then reveals them at the same time, and that's how it's determined who wins the spot. Leonardo, I know, I love the 90s art, it's so fun. I actually did an interview with the designer of this game, Omari Akil, a couple weeks ago, so if you look on the WizKids YouTube channel, you can see that interview. He had a lot of really fascinating things to say about the design process behind the game, and it was just really great. It was a lot of fun to talk to him, so check that out. But like I said, the game uses rock, paper, scissors mechanics, so everyone kind of reveals their action and energy cards at the same time. That determines who wins the spot and who gets to collect those points later on. Each player also has their own unique vibe, and those unique vibes match with the different spots that you're going to be visiting as you're playing the game. And so if you win spots with vibes that match your vibe, you get bonus points when you're scoring at the end of the game. So you want to earn the most energy, you collect those spots, and you try to match those with your vibe if you can to be able to get the most points at the end of the game. This is a really straightforward little game. It plays in 20 minutes. It's so 90s. It's so much fun. It's really cool. I really like it. I remember the song Summertime when I was younger, and I remember hearing it every time. It would be like July, it'd be hot out, and you would just hear someone blasting it out their car window, and that's like the feel of summer. And this one really matches the feeling that, that song gives you, and I think that's great. It's so much fun. It is 2 to 4 players, so it's perfect for, a summer outing. You want to go out, picnic in the park, play this game, blast DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince on your... Boomboxes aren't really a thing anymore, are they? On your phone, I guess, and pretend it's a boombox. Wear your wildest printed shirts and have a great time with DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Summertime. It's $19.99. It's available now at your friendly local game store and online. Worth every penny. Definitely pick it up. I should mention here, and I haven't mentioned this yet today, if you can't find these games at your friendly local game store, if they're unable to order them, you can head to shop.wizkids.com. We have our board games on that website as well, and you can order them from there. So that's another option for you. Or if you don't have a friendly local game store in your area, we understand that as well. I always say, going to your friendly local game store, supporting them is important. I really passionately believe that, but it also is sometimes not feasible to be able to get to a store. Maybe the storage hours don't fit with your work hours. Maybe you just can't get in there. Maybe there isn't one, and I understand that too. So head to shop.wizkids.com to be able to get those games as well. And then last up, our last game of 2021 that we have released so far this year, not our last game forever, just our last game that we have released so far this year, is Turbo Sleuth. Turbo Sleuth is a very, very fun game, and I really enjoy it. It is a puzzle speed solving game. So let me just read you the lore for this. Murder most foul has been committed. Old miser McGreedy's body hasn't even been laid to rest, and the murder suspects are already seeking to divide up his fortune. Was it his wastrel of a son? The nervous maid? The shady business partner? Or maybe it was the oddly nonchalant butler. Can you nab the culprit before time runs out? So, Turbo Sleuth is a puzzle speed-solving game where players compete simultaneously to find the solution to the round's challenge. So each round is going to be a different puzzle, a different challenge, and you're trying to solve that as quickly as possible before your other opponents solve it ahead of you. Only the first few players who think they've solved the puzzle may attempt to solve the case, but if they rush to a hasty wrong judgment, the game becomes more challenging for them for the next round. So what's really cool about this game is the basic premise of the game is that you're taking the cards that you'll see here with the different, suspect with the different murder weapons, and you're trying to match them. So you're trying to find the things that are common on all three cards, and that's going to be how you determine the solution to the puzzle. But there's other games, not really games, I guess there's other kind of variations on this that are options that you can play as advanced modes in the game. And they're all in the book, the rule book. They explain all of them. So there's, sometimes maybe you'll be asked to find the witness to the murder, which is the least occurring suspect on all three of the clue cards. Maybe you're trying to find the missing evidence, which is the item that is missing from all of the clue cards. Maybe you're trying to find a suspect with a contradicting or missing alibi, in which case you're looking at speech bubbles on the actual cards. So there's a ton of these, and there's a lot of variety and a lot of replayability. And then there's a solution set of cards so that you can kind of just see which cards, if these cards were in your game, this is the solution to the round. So it makes it easy to actually figure out the answer when you're done with the round and figuring out who won the round, and that is really nice and really convenient because you're not all sitting there staring at the cards going, what was the solution? It's written right on the backs of the cards, which is really great. And you can kind of pick these scenarios randomly. So after you've played the kind of basic version of the game, you can randomly pick the scenario that you want to play, and that really adds to the tension because you don't know what you're going to be looking for until basically the game has already started. And I think that's a lot of fun, and I really like it. Turbo Sleuth plays 2 to 8 players, so it's a really great, really high player count, really allowing for a fantastic number of people to really get together and play this game, and it's really fun. It's for ages 10 and up too, so it's probably a great game. I would say it's a great game for younger players, ages, like a 10-year-old could really understand this game, and it's a really great way to introduce them to something with puzzles and kind of problem solving. I think it's great. The game plays in 20 minutes. It's nice and fast, and it's $19.99. It's a small box game, so it's perfect price point for what you're getting, and there's a lot of replayability. It's really, this one is going to be, I think, one of the game night favorites when my gaming group starts kind of meeting up, because it's just a fun, lighthearted, but also really interesting mystery game. GM Workshop, yes, I did DM this game, or I did demo this game about a month ago. I talked about it on the show, I unboxed it, I did show it off. Thank you for asking. But Turbo Sleuth is available at your friendly local game store and online now. It is our most recent release. We just released it, and I really hope you pick it up because I really love it. I think it's fun. I think it's cute. I like mystery as a theme in general in games. So for me, this one is great. I love the theme. It's very, very fun. But with that, let's talk about the rest of the games that we have announced but have not released yet. And there are a lot of them. Oh my. So, first up, I'm just going to kind of read these. These aren't in any order on the screen, but I'm going to try and read them in as close to order as I can. I don't have release dates for any of these, so I can't sit here and tell you, oh, this is the date that this is going to be coming out. But I can just kind of give you a sense of what the games are like. And if I haven't unboxed them already, and I've unboxed a couple of these already on the show, I will be unboxing them very soon, so keep an eye out for that as well. So first, we have the D&D Ghost of Saltmarsh board game, Adventure System board game expansion. So I actually unboxed that on this show literally last week. It is an expansion to the Adventure System board game series in D&D. We've released a couple of these: Dungeon of the Mad Mage, Temple of Elemental Evil, Tomb of Annihilation, and there are a few other Adventure System board games as well that predate WizKids. In terms of when we started releasing those games, and this expansion is compatible with all of them. It adds different things, and it adds new adventures. You bring your heroes from the Adventure System board games into this game, so it kind of, you can, if you really like your heroes from that game, you can take them and bring them into this game. We also have Grease Lightning, which is a very, very fun racing game set in ancient Greece, where you're racing around, you're racing a trireme around a kind of the sea, trying to avoid the Hydra, trying to get the blessings of the gods. It's a very fun game. I did unbox it a while ago. I also did an interview with the designer Kathleen Mercury. That was a very interesting interview. Definitely check that out. It's on the WizKids YouTube channel. Really recommend it. She talked about the work that she does with students and how they kind of help with her design process almost, and how, you know, it was just really fascinating. Definitely check it out. Next up, we have Zombie Princess and the Enchanted Maze. This is a maze game where you're trying to escape from a zombified princess who is stalking her way through the maze, and you are trying to get to your key and then escape the maze without getting caught by her. If she catches you, she turns you into a zombie. She functions as kind of an AI where she moves as far as she can, or if you get lucky with your dice rolls, you get to move her. I unboxed this one, I believe 2 weeks ago. It might have been 3 weeks ago. But the art on this one is so cool. It's got this like geometric watercolor kind of thing going on, and I really love it. I think it's really awesome. The unboxing is right on this channel, so check it out. It's going to be great, though. I'm really excited. Yes, that's Zombie Princess and the Enchanted Maze. So after that, we have Bequest. Bequest is one that we just recently announced. I have not unboxed it yet. It is an I Cut You Choose game where you are dividing up the assets. You are henchmen dividing up the assets of a departed supervillain, and you are trying to collect the most kind of assets, because the person with the most assets at the end of the game succeeds the supervillain and becomes the next supervillain. It's really, really cool. I have read the rulebook for this a couple times now. I really like it. I am excited to be able to unbox it and be able to play it when we get my copy in, to be able to show off on this show. It's going to be a lot of fun, and super good. I'm excited. Next up after that, we have Super Skill Pinball Ramp It Up. This is the sequel. It is a standalone sequel to our hit 2020 game, Super Skill Pinball 4K. If you played that, you know exactly what you're getting into with this one. It is a roll and write pinball-themed game. It really replicates the experience of playing pinball and brings it to the tabletop. You're going to be, hitting your flippers. You're going to be trying to avoid tilting, you're going to be trying to avoid tilting. You can nudge the pinball machine to change your rolls. You're getting bonuses. There's so much cool stuff. It has 4 new tables. I'm going to be unboxing this as soon as we get it in. I am really excited for this. There's a free print and play available right now on WizKids.com for this as well. So head to WizKids.com if you want to check out the first table. That is Gopher Gold. It is an adorable Gopher-themed table, and that is just a taste of the amazing tables that are going to be in Super Skill Pinball Ramp It Up. The last game that we have already announced that we are releasing this year, that is not, again, the last game we're releasing this year. It is just the last game that we have announced so far that is coming this year. And that is D&D Dungeon Scrawlers. So this is a maze. It is a Dungeons and Dragons themed speed maze game. And it is so cool. You pick a character class, and you're trying to draw your way through a pencil and paper maze, just like the ones that you would play, when you were younger at the doctor's office, in the magazines. You're playing a maze like that, and you're trying to collect treasure, and you do that by either like circling it, you're trying to defeat enemies by crossing them off, and you have to keep your pencil on the paper and try not to hit the walls of the maze. And each character class has a different special ability that allows them to, maybe they don't need to fully cross out an enemy to defeat them, or maybe they don't need to circle treasure, maybe they just need to pass through the treasure. And it has a bunch of different maze options in the box. And this is such a fun game. I've played it as part of working at WizKids. I've tested it out, and it is really great. And I can't wait to be able to show this one to you more as well, because it's a great family-friendly way to do mazes, but make it more strategic. And I think that's really cool. It's a very strategic kind of pencil and paper maze game, and it's not just a maze, and that I think that's really fun. I love it. I'm really excited. And of course, we have more releases that are going to be coming. We'll be announcing those as we can, so absolutely check that out. Keep an eye on our social media. WizKids on Facebook, WizKids Games on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to follow me on social media, I am at _Blackthorne. That's THE_Blackthorne on Twitter and Instagram. I am Jessa Blackthorne on Facebook. I would love for you to follow me. I post about different board game stuff. I post about my thoughts about games, a lot of different things. I'm just as quirky on there as I am on here. But I would love for you to give me a follow, so thank you if you do. Be sure to tune in to Model Behavior tomorrow. I am going to be showing off the miniatures from D&D Icons of the Realms Snowbound. I might be doing some unboxings. Who knows? It's going to be a lot of fun. I would love for you to tune in. I'll be hanging out in the chat answering your questions during that, so definitely check that out. But with that, thank you so much for tuning in. I love doing Much Ado About Gaming for you. I love being able to talk to you about these board games, sharing these unboxings. I love doing the whole thing, and I'm so happy that you hung out with me today. I hope you have a wonderful week. Stay safe. Stay healthy. I love you. WizKids loves you. Bye.